Hey everyone, it's Patrick Henry and this is the Unbreakable series. Millionaire lifestyle, baby. Can't forget the packed lunch. Coming in your ear holes.
Live on a Wednesday afternoon, JD right away.
And this week we're talking about overcoming obstacles. Now, these are some things that we see in our lives, some things that come into our lives, sometimes they're things that are innate in us. And it's all about how we can make the best of the situation, overcome the obstacle, and of course, move forward with our lives. So I hope you enjoy. We're going to be talking about some of the things that I've had to go through so that you can learn from it too. So the first obstacle was ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia. All things I was diagnosed with at the age of 16. So the ADHD part basically means that I struggle to pay attention. I'm always on the move. Find it difficult to learn in group settings because they may move at a different pace to the pace that I want to move at. And I find it difficult to conform with other people's ways of working. And the dyslexia and dyspraxia basically just meant it was very difficult for me to read and learn in the same way as other people can. So I guess one of the first obstacles that I encountered when I was younger was when I was 16 and I was expelled from college. Unfortunately, the man that expelled me was also a very nice man that cared about my well-being. And he suggested that I was put forward for a psychological analysis. Obviously, I didn't have any plans to be a guinea pig for someone, but I thought, let's do it. Let's find out what's going on in my head. And the results came back that I had ADHD, dyslexia, and dyspraxia. Now, first of all, I had to Google what dyspraxia was. Not that there was a Google back then, but I had to think about what these things actually meant. And at the time, it didn't really mean much to me. It was just a label. It was just something that, could get me an extra bursary when I went to university. But then when I went to work and I went to think about my career and when I was taking steps in my life that were more serious than they were when I was 16, 17, I realized that these things actually meant something. It was more challenging for me to sit down and read, and it was more challenging for me to focus. It was more challenging for me to write. So I had to take these things into account. I had to make the best of what was inside of me, because these things are not things that you can learn away. You have to learn to deal with them. You have to learn to manage them. So with the ADHD, I knew I had to keep myself busy. I knew I had to be in a job role where I would benefit from my energy level. So a state agency made sense at the time. I was going to get paid for the work that I was going to do, and I was going to outwork everybody because nobody had the energy that I had. Yeah, I'm annoying. Yeah, I'm frustrating to be around because this energy keeps on flowing. I keep pumping, I keep going and going. But that was going to make me money. That was going to make me successful. There was no getting around the dyslexia and the dyspraxia. My handwriting, I think a teacher described it as a spider jumping in a pot of ink, jumping out, landing on the page and having a fit. So, there's not much I can do about that. So I'd never write anything. It's always typed. Always spell check. And I have to take into account that sometimes I'm going to have to read things twice or a lot slower than the average person. I have to go somewhere very quiet to concentrate. But that's the way I got over it. That's the way I made the most of the situation and overcome the obstacle in front of me. So obstacle number 2 was money. Now, money, like with most people, it doesn't go very far in London, as you can imagine. Setting up a new business, buying a property, you got no money, you got no power. Or so I thought. So the next obstacle is money. Money. It's something we're all obsessed about. Something that entrepreneurs are unbelievably obsessed about. They think about the money before they write the business plan. Before they set up the Instagram or Twitter handle and send out a message saying they're setting up their own business, and before the dreams come to light. A lot of people are obsessed and bogged down by money. But I didn't have money when I set up Patrick Henry. A lot of people that have money can't set up successful businesses, regardless of how much money they have. And a lot of very poor people set up and run fantastic businesses and succeed and achieve way beyond the way that we think they would achieve, given how much money they started out with. Everyone's got those stories. You all heard those stories of someone with absolutely nothing that's hit the wall 1,000 times, hit the floor, been knocked back, knocked back, knocked back, had nothing to their name. Yeah, had nothing to their name. And they achieved something. That's because they're thinking up here. They're thinking with some imagination. The way I set up Patrick Henry, I borrowed money. I never actually had the money in the first place. I just doubled down on my debts to get to where I wanted to be because I believed in the company that I was going to set up. And if you believe in your company that you're going to set up, if you believe in your ambition, you believe in buying your first home, you just got to have the plan. You can always put pen to pad. It doesn't cost anything to think. And your hard work doesn't cost anything either. Money is just an illusion to some extent. I get the impression right now that I've got money. I dressed the same way 10 years ago when I didn't have money. It's just an illusion. Just another obstacle for you to get around.
I can tell you look absolutely fuming. What's happened, mate?
No, it's I try not to get angry when things don't go right or things are not spot on because we're humans and we make mistakes. But I think when you train someone, you teach someone to the best of your ability, and things still don't go as you expect them to, then you have to take a step back and you have to think what you're doing wrong. So right now I'm thinking how I can either train people better, put a better system in place, or how I can be a better leader so that things work better. You know, my problems are here with me. I don't go around blaming people and saying that's your fault, you done this wrong, you done that wrong, you did that wrong. I like to look at the problem being something in my control. So I'm just taking myself out of the mix at the moment, out of all the noise and whatever else, and just having to think about what I can do better to make sure that I don't feel like this again and I don't have these problems next time round. And all in all, the company works better and smoother because that's what makes happy people, that's what makes happy staff, that's what makes happy customers, and ultimately makes you money. Now, obstacle number 3 was experience. And everything I've done has been a fear of not knowing what I'm getting myself into, not knowing how to make the most of the situation, whether it's property or business. There's no one else there to teach me. So another big obstacle was experience. We all got to start somewhere. But before I opened Patrick Henry, I hadn't run a business before. Before I opened Radiance London, I hadn't been on a sunbed before. Before I opened Reliance Design and Build, I hadn't worked on a building site in any particular skilled capacity anyway. And before we opened Reliance Health, I hadn't worked in a hospital before. But as I said, we have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And I'm a great believer in, if I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to go and find it out. You know, Richard Branson said something along the lines of, never say no to an opportunity. If you don't know how to do it, go away, find out, but always say yes straight away. And I believe in that. If I see an opportunity, if I see something that could benefit me and I don't quite know how it's going to work, I don't shy away from it. I push forward, because someone out there knows. There's someone out there that does what you're wanting to do, or does something similar. And you have to think, is that person really smarter than you? Is that person going to be able to outwork you? And even if they're smarter than you, are you going to be able to outwork them to make more of the situation? And if they can outwork you, are you smarter than them by so much of a degree that it doesn't make any difference? I'm a great believer in you can achieve what you want to achieve if you're willing to take a smart approach to it and if you're willing to put the effort in. And I mean real effort. That's how I overcome that obstacle. Four of my pigeon friends. So those are just 3 of the many, many obstacles that I've faced during my career, during 10 or 11 years of working for someone else or working for myself. And I'm sure you come across many obstacles yourself, whether it is money, whether it is experience, whether it is some learning difficulties. And we all have obstacles. We all have different obstacles. We all have different intensities of those obstacles. The main thing is that you don't allow those obstacles to be permanent in your life, and you find a way around them. And you can do it. I haven't met anyone that hasn't been able to get around a problem if they've really applied themselves, truly applied themselves to it, truly put the effort in, truly gave themselves a chance to think outside the box and to apply themselves to something. You know, I'm not a particularly special person. I work particularly hard. So if you're an average person, like I think I am, then you should know that if you apply yourself and if you put your effort and your determination into achieving your goal, you set your plan, then no obstacle is insurmountable. Whether those obstacles are out there in the wide world or innate to you and part of your being, you can conquer them. You just have to apply yourself.